this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause cherish it so much. A cause of American democracy itself must unite to protect it. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition.
President Joe Biden insisting that the defense of democracy is more important than any title in this Oval Office address tonight, just his fourth since he took office, explaining his decision to drop his 2024 re-election bid and support Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign.
Philip Wegmann is the White House correspondent for Real Clear Politics. He joins us now live from Washington with more. Your big takeaway from the speech?
President Biden said for weeks that he would not go into that good night. And this evening from the Oval Office, he did exactly that on 8 different occasions in interviews with ABC, NBC, and MSNBC in numerous different states. The president said to the nation that he was not going to be dropping off of the ticket. And then this last weekend, he did exactly that. So this is as close to a bombshell. And I think that what we tried to hear from the president, I don't know if he was successful, is an explanation for that bombshell.
Yeah, that was going to be my question to you. Do you really think that he sufficiently explained why? He didn't talk about polls. He didn't talk about the pressure campaign. He didn't mention his health at all.
That's right. This was much more of a State of the Union, an opportunity for President Biden to do some victory laps and discuss his successes over the last 4 years, than an explanation for why he wasn't going to be on the ticket. We heard from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre earlier in the day that the president was not dropping out because of his health. And instead, what we heard from the president this evening, it seems, is that he thought that he had a record of accomplishments that was certainly sufficient for him to win the job. But ultimately, for whatever reason, he has decided to step aside and pass the torch to a younger voice, to Vice President Kamala Harris.
Well, I mean, he's basically saying, democracy is more important than personal ambition, which essentially sounds like he's saying, I couldn't win, and so I'm not going to have such a big ego that I'm going to run anyways, so somebody else has to do this because this is bigger than me. Is that what you heard?
That's what I heard, Elix, and I think that I should know, during your coverage of the RNC, you and I chatted, and I was never more confidently wrong about something. I remember in our discussion, I was of the opinion that President Biden was going to stay because all of the momentum for the political machinery, from the DNC to his fundraising operation, it had certainly stalled. There were wrenches in the gears. But President Biden himself said that he wasn't going anywhere. He had the backing of his own family. And then we saw this sudden reversal where President Biden, he goes behind closed doors with a COVID diagnosis. He makes his announcement via a statement posted to X. 4 days pass, and now we finally hear from the president himself. I still have questions, though, about what was the ultimate straw that broke the camel's back. And I think, frankly, not only do other members of the press corps, but I think the nation might as well.
Looking ahead, today you mentioned the press briefing with Karine Jean-Pierre, and she was asked about the idea of being a lame duck president, and she said, no, we don't look at it like that. He has a lot of work to do in these next 6 months. He mentioned some of that tonight. He mentioned that he wants to reform the Supreme Court. What do you make of the next 6 months ahead of him?
There's going to be a lot of ambitious rhetoric, but I think that if you look at the political reality on the ground, the very basic political arithmetic, Democrats hold the Senate by 1 or 2 votes, and they don't have control of the House of Representatives. We're getting very close to an election. Even if the president himself was still running, I'm not certain that he would have the political reality to push through some of these bigger ticket items, let alone reforming the Supreme Court. So the White House can say that this is not going to be a lame duck presidency. But the fact of the matter is that moving forward, President Biden is very much a figurehead. He is going to hold the job down, but I don't expect any big landmark reforms coming out of the White House anytime soon, just because of the context that they exist in.
But you are still commander-in-chief, and there is still a lot of power with the presidency, and you can still also appoint judges as long as there remains a Democratic Senate. Let's ask about the Republicans for a moment. You mentioned that we were at the RNC together last week. We've got some video of this. We were on a show for the Daily Wire appearing together. That, of course, was all about the Republican unity, about Donald Trump. How does what's happened now, Kamala Harris being the top of the ticket, affect where the Republicans are at? It seems like they're a little bit off their game in terms of their messaging, because last week the message was clear. Donald Trump is strong, Joe Biden's weak, and now it seems a little muddied.
Absolutely. And if you talk to some of the Republicans close to former President Trump, they were of the opinion that it was locked in. They thought that if Joe Biden was going to get out of the race, he would have done that before the Atlanta debate. Instead, now they have a new standard bearer. The emerging plan with regards to how to defeat Vice President Harris, at least in GOP eyes, is they are going to argue that she owns the policy failures of President Biden, but that she's even more liberal. They're going to argue that as President Biden was diminished and as age caught up with him, that she was not honest with the American people. And then they're also going to say that by elevating her to the top of the ticket, by allowing delegates, not voters, to make this decision, that it's sort of anti-democratic. That's going to be the 5-minute hurry drill that Republicans are running ahead of November. But they really were eager to run against President Biden. They liked that race. They felt confident in that race. Now, as they see the hundreds of millions of dollars that Harris and an energized Democrat machine is fundraising, they have some pause. And now, this race is very much a question mark.
Is Tom Bevan your direct boss?
Tom Bevan, he's a great guy. I work with my editor, Carl Cannon. Okay. Bevan locks quite a few things down with the polling. Okay, yes. But he knows the numbers.
Yeah, Philip, I'm mentioning that because Tom joined here at 6 o'clock on Monday. So we always look to real clear politics for a look at the polling. We look forward to seeing those new polls come forward between the Trump-Harris matchup. I get to reap the benefits of you two meeting at the RNC. So, Philip Wegmann, you were great tonight. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.